Hello, Mr. President, board members. I'm Cameron Johnson. I'm speaking on behalf of Opal Bus Riders Unite in the campaign for fair transfer. Right now, the campaign is being studied extensively by our joint task force, which I'm glad to hear. I believe, as I always have, that the voices of the people should be heard even now, and so I brought a few points through for the board to hear that will test, reassure, and remind them how important this campaign is to us transit riders. These are the things that we experience every day and can be solved by the campaign. TriMet's biggest argument is that extending the transfer to a length of 3 hours a day is simply providing people with free round trips. There is no trip that takes 3 hours one way. That could be true on paper. But things don't always go according to plan. Say the bus breaks down. I've noticed the older models have been giving up the ghost route. Suppose there is a transfer that simply never shows up. The bus could be on detour, and that causes us to get to us later, or causes us to get to our transfers later. And there's so many forces of nature that can intervene with the idealism of a trip short of 3 hours. But there are still hundreds of trips that take longer than the 90 to 120 minutes currently allotted. And I'm not talking about those late night Estacada Soda Ground runs that everyone does nowadays. I mean even local trips. With the best luck in transfers, can still take more than one bus transfer. More than one slip. Troutdale to Rockwood, Tualatin, Oregon City, Aloha to Tyler. Even in the central city of Portland itself, there are so many trips that take longer than 90 minutes. Put me in a room with a computer and tell me to find all the trips that take longer than 90 minutes, and I'm a happy man. I can spend all day coming up with them. Combined with the potential pitfalls of the trip, and we're in even deeper trouble. There's another fact I'd like to say. TriMet buses are not always on time. In fact, I've come to find that TriMet buses are often very, very late. I remember one week I caught the line 19 20 times, and not one was in on time. And when this happens during the middle of the transfer, we can have to be screwed into buying another one. Let's say I transfer at 3:30 in the afternoon. I bought my transfer at 2:45, and it goes out at 4, and there's a bus coming at 3:44. Now, say that bus I'm waiting for is late, very late. Say it doesn't even show up, and the bus gets here at 4, and I have to buy another transfer, and the irony is it's not even my fault. I surely shouldn't have to pay for that transfer if the responsibility for needing the second transfer falls on you.
Hello?
Now, if my transfer went out at 5:30 or 6, I wouldn't have to sweat shelling out more money.
Okay.
The third point of common sense I'd like to make is that when one bus runs late, you're behind on your whole trip. This is perhaps the most common and glaring thing that can go wrong on a TriMet trip. Again, let's say my transfer is scheduled to arrive 8 minutes after I get off my first bus. But my bus is 10 minutes late. Not only am I 10 minutes behind, but I will miss my transfer. And even if my transfer then become invalid by the missed transfer, I now have that extra weight to tack onto my entire trip, which may force me into missing even more transfers. Pretty soon my hour-long trip is turned into a 2-hour-plus trip, and I bought a second transfer against my will. If I had a longer transfer, I would have a comfort room every time the bus system screws my day up, which is unfortunately very, very often. And we all know it. I'm not stating anything new. The bus system is in disarray. With all the service cuts happening, it's sure to leave us late many times. But we're not trying to cheat the system to make free round trips for everybody. We're still trying to make sure we can safely make the single full trip you promised us. This is not only a way to make sure the transit dependent can get around and afford it, but a saving grace for being unfairly charged for by the buses being late. These are important points that need to be made straight from the bus riders about why the campaign is so important, and I hope they can be considered with the campaign by all involved. Thank you.